Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Warren. I'm the chair of the Real Estate Board. I want to welcome all of you to the Oregon Real Estate meeting of the board and explain the membership of the board, the duties of the board, and Oregon public meeting laws, and let you know what to expect at this board meeting. The board meets at least 6 times a year, holding 4 meetings online in a video conference format and 2 in communities around the state in person. The board consists of 9 members appointed by the governor who serve for a 4-year term. 7 members must have 5 years of active real estate experience, and 2 members are public members. Public members may not be real estate licensees and may not have been employed by the real estate agency. I'd like each of our board members to introduce themselves, let you know who they are, where they're from, and take a few minutes to discuss the market in their region as well as any challenges they are facing. So I'll just call how I see them. um, Janicia?
Yeah, me? Yes, Sonia.
Yeah, sorry.
No, no worries. Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. My name is Yesenia Juarez, and I'm with Portland Housing Center, and I am the lending director. So we support clients with homeownership and also financing. In terms of the market, I've been tracking interest rates really closely to see if there's been any trends that we've been noticing. We've had a lot of clients ask about rate drops as soon as they hear feds are cutting rates. The first thing they do is call us like mortgage rates dropped. So I like to keep a little chart of what the rates are looking like. In September, that was kind of like the highest peak that we saw in terms of interest rates. We saw them dip down a little bit mid-October, and now they're kind of stabilized, so we haven't seen a lot of movement. Interest rates currently, what we're tracking here locally at our branch for conventional, they're around 6.2 and 6.3, depending on the mortgage broker that we're using. We're also tracking national rates. We're a little bit higher. The factors that we typically use are 5%, 740 mid credit score to kind of establish a baseline. We have seen a lot more motivated buyers, but purchase prices in the metro area are still pretty challenging in terms of affordability. So we've seen a lot of layered loans. So we had clients layer 2 to different down payment assistance programs to try to get them at a qualifying debt to income ratio. So that's what we've been seeing on our side. And I can pass it on to our other lender in the group.
Okay. James, go ahead.
Good morning, James Comro. I own Two Rivers Mortgage. We're an independent brokerage based in Portland. And I echo what Yesenia has said about interest rates. It's been interesting to see a lot of sale fails for some reason over the past couple of months. I don't know if it's just nervous buyers or picky buyers, um, what's going on. And then there's also been a lot of buzz about this 50-year mortgage that's been in the news lately. So I think it's just going to take a lot of education, just like when Yesenia said about the interest rates dropping, they're supposed, as soon as that gets out in the media, everyone thinks instantly that their rate changed, and that isn't really how it works. So part of our job is just to educate everything. But from our side, it's been pretty calm and steady the last couple months, which we appreciate.
Okay, thank you. Stacy?
Good morning, everybody. I'm Stacy Ellingson down here in Klamath Falls with Fisher Nicholson Realty. We're actually seeing kind of an uptick in buyers. It's been kind of a weird, last month was a really good month for us down here. Seeing a lot of inventory move that wasn't moving before. So it's just been kind of a strange month. This month we're hoping for another good for, I guess, residential. Our commercial is still a little bit off and our vacant land is a little bit off still. But yeah, we're seeing an uptick. So I think that's good news.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
Sorry about that, everyone. I had my mute button on. Tom Tapia with Frasky Commercial Real Estate here in Bend, Oregon. The market here is, I would say out of 10, probably a 6 right now. Most of the activity that we're seeing continues to be on industrial land, and some smaller, what we call incubator spaces in the 1,200 to 2,500 square feet range. Tends to drop off once we get past 3,000, and then we do see some continued interest in the 25,000 and greater. Most of those prospects that are coming, at least to our area, seem to be logistical companies, whether it's trucking or the manufacturing side of things as well. As far as challenges go, for me in the commercial world, the government shutdown and SBA closing did not do us any favors. I've got one prospect and a deal I'm working on right now that was completely shut down because of SBA. And now that we're opened, they've got a backlog, and it is difficult to get a reading on when SBA will be able to pick up the additional backlog since that closed down. So that's been our biggest challenge so far is the hurdle is SBA being closed down. Other than that, I can't speak to the housing part of it. It seems to be doing well, but I'll let the experts speak to that. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Jose.
Thank you, Michael. Jose Gonzalez, principal broker of Tucasa Real Estate Salem. And I guess something I could share is on the residential side, the months of inventory. I don't remember exactly when it started ticking up. And like, August was close to, it was 4.95, September was 4.99, and then October came in at 4.67. So I just told my team that it's the first time that I've seen the months of inventory actually go down one bit, for the last several years. So I'll keep monitoring that, but it was a little, I'd expected that it would have still went up a little bit because things are a little quiet, but it actually went down, for the first time in several years, just a bit.
Okay. All right. Dawn?
Good morning. Dawn Dirksen Associates. We are specializing in property management in Corvallis, Albany, and Philomath. The rental market is doing what it normally does this time of year. It is quiet. It'll pick up a little bit the first week and a half of December. So hopefully our Zillow ads are on point. And pricing does drop a little bit from December and January. So after the Christmas holiday, we should see a tiny uptick in January, and then our slowest season will start in February. But the rental market isn't much different than it is normally.
Okay. Thank you. Deborah?
Good morning. Deborah Neal with principal broker with Windermere Realty Trust in Portland. And the market, it's not at a standstill. It's moving steady, but it's moving slow. I am still seeing quite a few first-time home buyers out there. The thing of it is that there's a lot of development that's going on, especially in the urban area with a lot of affordable housing. You have a lot of cottages that are being built, which, presents, in a sense, a single family home. You have a lot of different other programs such as Proud Ground, Habitat for Humanity, and all of those homes are pretty affordable. So I'm seeing more buyers actually venture out. Still, it's kind of been a steady pace. I'd say probably within the last 3 or 4 months with that. On the list side, people are still putting their homes on the market. Of course, it's slower than normal, but some are going ahead and putting it on anyway because you're still going to have sales all year round. It's just a little bit slower now, and people have mentally kind of prepared themselves for that. However, I am seeing a lot of individuals that have made the decision to wait till after the first of the year, perhaps, start in February, to say list their home. I am finding though that if we go out towards like Lake Oswego or homes that are say over 1.1, 1.2, they are taking slower still to sell, but you still have active people that are looking. That they're pretty much have been tired of kind of waiting for the rates, but they've made adjustments within their um, home so that they can move forward because prices are still moving up, not as quickly, but they are moving.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Latasha.
Happy December 1st, everybody. I agree with Deborah. The market is definitely moving. I feel like I have actually picked up business, which is crazy because normally this is my slower time. But I had like a buyer consult last week. I have one this week. I have a lot of first-time buyers to Deborah's point saying, what can I do? I'm also finding like I push some of my buyers that are first-time home buyers that might be thinking I can never buy a house. I push them to Portland Housing Center because they have a lot of great programs and they can help them find like affordable loan programs. But I'm finding some of my buyers are coming back and saying, I make too much money to get help for some of these programs. So I find that, which is a good thing. I find that some of my buyers that typically may have been able to get that kind of help are finding that they can't. And so we've been exploring like some USDA loans, which has been kind of fun, and just some other options for them that are zero down payment. So I find that interesting for some of my first-time home buyers, but I do think the market's picking up. Listings are still slow, but I do still have a couple sellers still raising their hand saying, what could it look like? And prepared to wait it out. Like they understand that the market is not what it was and they're prepared to wait it out. But I have some sellers that are ready to move up. They're like, we're just going to get out of here and get into something different. So yeah, love that. Thanks.
All right, great. Well, I'm Mike Warren. I'm with Crook County Properties in Prineville, Oregon. It was interesting when Yesenia and James mentioned, interest rates and how people perspect that. A lot of lenders around in Prineville are going around letting people know, hey, don't get all excited. Don't, it's just got to play out the process. So our market here, real similar to what Stacy mentioned, we're kind of seeing an uptick. If things are priced right, they're moving. Have seen more than normal things fall through for whatever reason early on, not necessarily inspections, maybe inspections, but seen very early on in the process, whether they get cold feet on the residential side. Similar to what Tom said, I've got two trucking companies that I'm pending on both of my heavy industrial properties right now who are expanding and needing room to go. So, so there's good and bad, but real similar to what everybody has to say. So, all right. Well, thanks all. So in all matters relating to board business, board members represent the governor and serve as the pleasure of the governor. The members of the board are entitled to compensation for their expenses related to board business and receive a stipend of $155 per day when conducting board business. Also at the table are the real estate commissioner, Steve Strode, who was appointed by the governor in 2019, and Deputy Commissioner Anna Higley. The board has 5 primary duties. The board provides advice to the real estate commissioner and the governor's office regarding real estate industry matters. The board reviews proposed rulemaking and provides recommendations to the real estate agency on rules. The board reviews and approves or denies experience waivers, requests for applications for a principal broker licensee. The board may make recommendations or suggestions regarding the license examination process. The board approves or denies a person's qualifications to be a continuing education provider if that person does not otherwise qualify under the statute. The board contributes to the development and approves the law and rule required course biannually. The policy under public meeting law is the public must be aware of the decisions and deliberations of the governing bodies. The real estate board is called a governing body under the law and is therefore subject to the Oregon public meeting laws. The key requirements of the law are to hold the meetings that are open to the public, to give notice of the meetings, which we do by posting the schedule and agenda on the agency website, to take minutes of the meetings, which we do by recording the meeting and taking written minutes of the meeting. Both are posted to the agency's website. The Real Estate Board uses Robert's Rules of Order, which provides common rules and procedures for conduct of the meetings and deliberations and debate in order to place the whole membership at the same level. The board cannot make a determination unless it has a quorum, which means that 5 members of the board must be present in order for the board to make decisions. A board member must first make a motion, which must be seconded. The chair must then state the motion, followed by debate. Finally, the board members must vote on the motion. All votes are then recorded and documented in the meeting minutes. The board must follow the statutes and rules under the Oregon Real Estate Law, which is ORS Chapter 696. Today, the board will follow the agenda. First, we will allow any members of the public to speak to the board. The board cannot take action at this meeting on citizen comment. After the time open for public comment, the public may not speak on any matters before the board, and the board may not direct questions to the public. The board may ask the real estate agency to provide technical information. The board will then take up matters that require board action recommendation to the real estate agency, followed by new business. The board will then hear from the real estate agency, who will provide reports on the board legislation, agency operation, and division reports. Okay, so with that, we have the approval of the agenda in order of business. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda in order of business.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Anna, I trust you're looking at hands. Okay, next is the approval of the October 6th, 25 regular meeting minutes. And I would entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll make the motion to approve the previous meeting minutes.
Okay,
I second.
okay, any discussion or comments on the minutes? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. All right, the date of the next meeting will be February 2nd, 2026, to begin at 10 a.m. The location will be online, pending board approval. Public comment at this time is set aside for persons wishing to address the board on matters not on the agenda. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. The board chair reserves the right to further limit exclusion, repetitious, or irrelevant presentation. If written material is included, 12 copies of the information is to be distributed to the board members, should be given to the board liaison prior to the meeting. Action will not be taken at this meeting on citizen comment. The board, however, after hearing from the interested citizen, may place the item on future agendas so proper notice may be given to all interested parties. Do we have anything, Anna?
No one reached out in advance.
Okay,
I'm not seeing any chats. Give it a second.
okay. So if no one wishes to comment, the next scheduled agenda item will be considered. Request for waivers. It looks like there's none. Petition to qualify as a continuing education provider. Looks like there's none. So now we will go to, is his name OREA or Steve now?
I've official name now, yes.
Okay, we will go to Commissioner Steve Strode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Warren. So the first thing for us to decide, and you'll see it in your meeting packet, we need to agree on the times and locations for the 2026 board meetings. So we've got it proposed to you in the packet, and we would like to stick with just 2 meetings again in person from a budgetary and efficiency standpoint. And then the 2 that we identified was Salem and Portland in 2026. It's been about, gosh, I think 4 or 5 years since we've actually had an in-person meeting in Portland. So it's both cost effective and overdue. So that's what we put. So we just need your approval. I think you all vote on this every year just for the rotation. It's always the first Monday of the even months. And we're just proposing to keep that the same as well. So I'll entertain, or the chair will entertain a vote.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to approve these dates as written in our agenda.
I'll make the first motion to accept these dates as written.
I'll make the second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
One general question, easy. We're in Portland. Not that it matters. I'll still attend, but where in
Yeah,
Portland might this be?
to be determined. We'll decide that probably mid-year next year. We look for partners perhaps, or if there are people traveling in for the meeting, we tend to put the board meeting in the same location as the hotel oftentimes. So to be determined.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hopefully a low cost or free option is what I'll be looking for. So if any of you have offices in Portland, we'll be looking for an education partner as well. So I might be talking to some of the associations. If you have feedback about a specific location, I think we'd be eager to hear that.
We welcome it, yes.
Okay. I'll just add I think the in-person ones are great. I've been up to both Columbia Basin and Umatilla associations, and both of those meetings, somebody there attended when we were up in Pendleton. So anyway,
Good. Yeah, I really value them. It really comes down to timing, your timing especially, because
yeah,
we're paid full time for this. You're not, but also the expense. So
yeah,
it's that balance,
yeah,
and more money to spend, we would spend it, but we also want to be mindful of your fees. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so any further discussion? If not, those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, next on the agenda is uh, nominating and voting for your 2026 chair and vice chair. So Yesenia has been serving as vice chair this year, and she has agreed to ascend to chair if you vote her in. This is your choice. I just make recommendations. So Yesenia has agreed to serve. And as far as vice chair, now, those of you who've been on the board for a while, you know that everyone at some point, if you end up being on the board for two terms, has a rotation and you will serve as chair or vice chair at some point unless you say no. Um, I'm proposing that for 2026, uh, Dawn Dirksen as vice chair. This year, it's not based on seniority, but rather in 2027, we anticipate putting forth some policy option or legislation related to property management. And she's our property management expert on the board. So if we have to give any testimony, it would add some good credibility and just, like expertise for testimony as the 2027 board chair. So it is a strategic recommendation on my point for you all to consider. So those are my two recommendations. But that's up for you to vote.
And can we vote those separately as
Oh, good
well?
idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank
okay.
you.
So we'll first do for the chair for 2026. Steve recommended Yesenia. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion for Yesenia to Juarez to be the 2026 chair of the Oregon Real Estate Agency Board Committee. Look how formal that was, Michael.
That
Chair
was
Warren.
great.
And I
I'll
second.
second that.
Oh,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
If they want to make a campaign speech, they're welcome to.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. And then we will do the other motion for the vice chair. And as recommended by Commissioner Strode, Don Dirksen.
Dirksen.
Dirksen, I would entertain a motion for that.
A motion to approve Don Durkinson as the co-chair.
I will second, as long as Don's okay with it.
She's
I
nodding her head.
approve.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I should tell you, we did talk beforehand. I didn't just
Okay,
tell her this
not
on the
throwing me on the
call.
spot. Okay,
I,
good.
I failed to mention that I did reach out to her ahead of time. Yes.
Yeah, Steve was trying to slide that one in. Sorry, Don.
Yeah, I did convey that, didn't I?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, all right, motion passes. New business, Commissioner Strode.
Okay, thank you, Chair Warren. So in new business, we just have two items for your review. I know you just first saw them in the board packet, so if you have any feedback, that can obviously come in to us after the meeting as well. But in pages 4 through 8 of your packet, we have a draft of the updated initial agency disclosure pamphlet. Really minor changes on that. The most notable is the board had asked to put a fair housing statement at the top of the pamphlet. So we did put 2 paragraphs in there, as well as a resource on where someone would file complaints if they feel like they have been discriminated against. So that's for your review. Any feedback at this point that you'd like us to consider? And again, you don't need to make any recommendations today. This is just for review.
Any
I love it. I just want to add that I love
Thank
it
you.
that it's short and succinct, but gets to the heart of the matter, and then it gives you a resource so you feel like you don't just have the information and have nowhere to go with it. So I love it, and I appreciate the addition.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Steve on that?
I think Tom has his hand raised.
Oh, Tom?
Yeah. One really quick question. I'm not sure if this has ever been discussed before, but one of the things that we do in our office when this package, this pamphlet has been disseminated is we usually have our buyers and sellers initial it. Has that ever been discussed to have a section there?
That's a really good point. I've mentioned this before too, and especially from a compliance standpoint, the reviewing broker would probably like to make sure it was given at initial contact as stated in statute and rule. And this doesn't require that. I think has come up before as well.
Yeah.
What does the board think about that? Does that make sense to include that?
I think
love
it does, and I think primarily residential wise for sure, a lot of times when it's sent, especially everything's so much electronic, they just throw that in there. And I know our office just makes them initial it just so we know that they got it. But I mean, if you wanted to put that in as a requirement, I don't think that's a terrible thing.
Steve, I do think you would have to do a rule change to make it a requirement.
Check that, yeah.
A form modification is possible, but I don't think the rule speaks to a required signature at this point.
Yeah, I think right now it's just must be provided at initial contact.
Yeah, and this has
that's
come
the
up
extent.
several times in the past. I think maybe 10 years back, there was industry pushback when this was considered, just that first contact. And when you're asking for a signature or initial, there's confusion about an overcommitment or there was hesitation at that time. I'm sure many things have changed in the 10-year period since those comments were made, but it might be something that's good for rulemaking anyway, because it allows for wider public feedback. We know there's been industry concern in the past.
Yeah. On the disclosed limited agency form, but that's a different situation. That's only if you're going to represent both sides. It's saying, okay, yes, I received this pamphlet, but other than that, there's no way to know they got it. Yeah.
And in those intervening 10 years, like Anna referenced, things have changed in the business practices anyway, like
Yes.
written representation agreements and things like that. So it seems to be an appropriate time to let's just revisit that. Yeah. I think I saw Latasha's hand up too, right? Yeah.
I was just wondering if, and I think the rulemaking is great, bringing it back out and like Anna was saying, getting broader feedback from the public and realtors. But would it be possible to add it on there, the initial lines without making it a requirement, or do you think that would just be confusion? And then I'll just add from my perspective, I love the idea of having the initial option there. I do have my clients initial it, but I just put them in the spots, right? But it would be nice to have clean initial spots on there, even if we don't make it a requirement. So I just wanted to add that.
It would aid compliance, especially like if we would have a complaint against a licensee and they're saying, I never got it. It's still the responsibility of the licensee to prove, like, how did you deliver it? And oftentimes it might be email or through DocuSign or something like that. But being noted on the form just makes it very clear. So good. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Team disclosure draft.
Team disclosure. Let's see. That's also in pages 9 through 11 of your packet. And that ties into the new requirements from House Bill 3137. So this disclosure goes into effect January 1st. I sent a draft to Oregon Realtors to review. They gave some feedback. So this one is just required by statute that the agency will prepare a form to be used for teams. So this is what we put together. It's only the 1st of December, so if there's any other modifications or feedback, we can still take that. What we'll do is we'll share this in an editable format so that people that are using DocuSign or zip forms and things like that, can be just modified once for the team, and then it's all pre-filled out. So we'll make it editable for people, so you're not handwriting out the form. But that's what we included here. Any feedback on that one?
I love it.
I like you going in first, chiming in first.
Yeah.
So I love it. And let me just tell you, as I'm licensed in Washington, also, and the state of Washington doesn't recognize teams right now.
Okay.
Really, that's not something that they have taken on or really just, decided really. So they're diving into it now, but I feel like we're ahead of the game on this. And it makes me very, very happy to know that people are going to have full disclosure regarding the team member, because it gets confusing for the client when they think that the managing broker of the team is the top, and they're not the top. They actually have a boss. And so I was a principal broker for a little bit, and that gets very confusing when you're talking to a frustrated client who felt like they were at the top, and then they get to me and they're like, I had another option the whole time for conversation. So this is huge. I think it's great for the industry, great for client transparency. And so, yeah, I love it.
That's really important, Natasha. It's like, I think some consumers didn't know they had someone else they could turn to if something went south or went sideways in a transaction, which sometimes they do. And
Yeah.
you're right, this just keeps it clear and transparent to everybody. You can't escalate this before going to the Realtor Association or before going to the real estate agency. There's a chain of command to talk to first.
I love it.
Yeah, good. And then also, being clear on who's licensed and who's unlicensed, because if there's a transaction coordinator or whatever, being clear about that. So good. And this one does have the acknowledgement of receipt. That wasn't specified anywhere earlier, but it just made sense. We were empowered to create the form, and having an acknowledgement of receipt just makes sense from our standpoint. So we did include that.
Yeah.
And I love, sorry, Michael, go ahead.
I was just going to say I just went back on the Oregon forums, they have put their own, copied it, but it's in the Oregon forums, and it does have a client signature initial down at the bottom on the
For the
form.
disclosure pamphlet, you mean? Or this
Yeah.
one? Oh, okay.
No, for the disclosure pamphlet.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something you don't need. I don't know. Something to look
That's
at.
a really good observation, because that form, we are required to provide a sample of what it should include. And as an industry, as the realtor forms, you can add to it. Like you can do that. So if the two leading form companies in the state already require that, well, then you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you double checked it.
Latasha?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I like that it says signing this disclosure does not require you to work with this real estate team or commit you to any agreement, and that any working relationship must be established through a separate written agreement. I think that's going to feel good for teams too, and for the client as well, feeling like, okay, this is just a disclosure only. I'm not committed to working with this team.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Any other feedback on that? Well, if you think of anything, just shoot us a message. Send it to Michelle Tracy. She's the one that's coordinating all this. So if you have anything you think of in the middle of the night, just message. Yeah. All right.
Okay. You have the administrative action summary in your packet.
Yeah, so I wanted to just bring one update there, and that is, and I don't have a full update for you on that. We'll probably write something later, but I do want to bring to your attention, from a prior revocation, it's a case where we actually went into a receivership with the former licensee. We bring in a receiver to manage the remaining funds of the business and determine what the next steps are to try to help consumers the best they can. This was the Drogensen case, and what we did learn from DOJ is that they are, as a part of the receivership hearings, let me just find out what they're doing. They're actually selling off some rental properties from the former licensee in order to recover some funds to the other victims, if you will. So I don't have an update for you on that, but I want to write about this in the future because the receivership process is something that you and I just don't talk about very often. You know, you'll see the revocation, and then it's kind of it, right? There have been cases where we have asked for a receiver to see if anything else can be recovered from any funds can be recovered. So again, in this case, I'm trying to find the email. I think the receiver is selling 4 or 5 properties that were owned by the property manager in their own portfolio as a way to recover funds. So it's a long process. The Drogensen case goes back to, I think, last summer, was it, Anna? Do you remember when? Spring, summer? You can look in the.
Yeah, I think it would be 24.
Yeah.
I think we started getting, I think, cases in mid 24.
Yeah. So well, more to come on that. This literally just came out last week, but I wanted to give you an interim update on the fact that sometimes things still happen in the background, even after we've done our final action with the license.
So Steve, so as you're working this case or whatever, it gets to a point where you think, okay, you think this might be needed, and that's when you reach out to the receiver.
Yeah, it's kind of a decision process that we go through with DOJ because, if in the case of if funds have been misappropriated and there's perhaps no funds left, well, then we might not have much of an option of the receiver because the receiver has to be able to get paid for their services as well. So it's a decision process we go through with DOJ on whether or not receivership is viable in any way. So it's not like a yes, no decision, red light, green light. It's really a multitude of factors we have to figure out if it's worth our time and if we think there'll be any benefit to Oregonians.
And it's a court-appointed receiver, so
Thank you.
DOJ
Yes.
will represent the agency. We'll have our case, bring it to the circuit court, and then they'll make a determination if a receivership's appropriate. And that receiver is typically going through a forensic audit, determining if there are any, funds remaining or assets remaining that could be liquidated, like in this case. And in some cases, even conducting property management or winding up the affairs of property management. What do you think, Steve? 1 a year is kind of the track right now we're on, 1 to 2.
Yeah, I think we've done maybe 4 or 5 since I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying it too. That's a court-appointed process. So we go to our contact at DOJ and then they go to the court for us.
Yeah.
And then it's handled from there. And then the receiver has to file reports with the court on an interim basis to give an update on what the status is of the process.
Okay.
Yeah. So more to come on that, but I wanted to give you that update because I think it's something the community would appreciate understanding more about, that we just don't, if we can do more, we can. I'm sorry, if we can do, we will. Yeah.
We know what you meant.
Yeah, it's not what I say, it's what I mean.
Okay, any questions for Steve on that? Okay,
All right.
all right, so we'll go into reports.
All right, and that's also me again. Okay, so wanted to bring up one thing related to MV Realty, and that is in your board packet at page 57. If y'all recall the MV Realty issues where they would enter into a 40-year agreement with homeowners, and then the promise was if you list your home at any point in the next 40 years, you promise to work with this particular company. And in exchange for that, they would give some money up front to the homeowners that would help them with emergency bills or things like that. So it was the impetus for prior legislation to no longer allow listing agreements for more than 2 years without consent of the consumer. In the background, that's another thing where we might surface issues, and then there's another agency that actually can do more potentially. In the background, DOJ was investigating this, and they did come to an agreement with MV Realty. This also happened in other jurisdictions throughout the country. Did anybody hear about this? Show of hands, the DOJ decision?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So they came to agreement with MV Realty where they must release all 669 active agreements, homeowners from their agreements. So that 40-year lien, I think it was, that was placed on the property is no longer enforceable. So those 669 homeowners in Oregon are no longer on the hook to list with this company when they decide to sell. And then there's also some monetary penalties or civil judgments there. I believe the company, I don't know if they filed for bankruptcy, there's some sort of reorganization, but they did agree that there's a $150,000 penalty. If they make 9 payments of $10,000 each, the final 6 payments will be forgiven. So a $90,000 penalty, basically, if they pay 9 payments of 10,000. Then there's an additional $500,000 penalty that was suspended due to MV Realty's inability to pay. That was included in the press release. So basically, the finances just weren't there. But at least the important thing is these contracts are void, or these
Yeah.
liens are void. So good news from a consumer protection standpoint.
yeah.
Any
Okay,
questions on that? Kudos to the industry too that also put forth the bill to say no more
yeah,
excessively long listing agreements.
yeah. Okay, Anna?
Hi. Thank you, Chair Warren. Well, first, I'm going to bring up Ellie Katara, our Regulation Division Manager. Give us an update on the work of her division. Ellie.
Good morning. Thanks, Anna. Thank you, Chair Warren and members of the board. For the record, my name is Ellie Katara with the Regulation Division, the Oregon Real Estate Agency. Nothing to report on staff updates or anything like that. I've had the pleasure of attending Leadership Oregon, a program that I've mentioned before, and that's concluding this month. So really meaningful experience, but also happy to be back in the office 2 more extra days a month with my team doing what we do. So the Regulation Division's average investigation completion for the last 3 months or 90 days is 77. Just really proud of the work that my team is doing. Our goal is to complete investigations within 120 days. So getting them complete on an average of 77 days is pretty incredible, especially when you consider the more complex cases that weigh that average down for the cases like the commissioner mentioned. Those property management cases often are very complex and take a lot of review of bank records and various other things. So really happy to report that about how the team is doing, as well as our senior case analyst who does that really important administrative review work at the end of investigations. She's averaging 11 days to complete those for that same time period of 3 months. And then as far as the key performance measurements, we aim to complete 80% of our cases within 150 days beginning to end. So that includes the process and licensing to, processing complaint intake and do the investigation and then have that administrative review. And my team just continues to exceed expectations in that way as well. I wanted to share that when I presented at Oregon Realtors, I had talked about what you'll see in the board packet, which is that the investigation resolution year to date, or at the time this report was due, January 1st, 2025 through October 31st, 2025, 60 out of 96 of our cases are closed with no action or an educational letter of advice. I really wanted licensees during that presentation to really understand that many of our cases do not result in any action taken against a license. So I think that was really important, but I was really it was interesting to hear somebody ask, well, how many are closed that don't even get to you? And because we work in different divisions, I was so fascinated. So you'll see the investigation resolution, visual and data in the board packet, but in preparation for today's board meeting, I wanted to also share that what's even more impressive, I think, is that only 131 cases out of 480 complaints actually became investigations in the first place. And some of that is because maybe a complaint is filed and it's really more landlord-tenant law, or it's referred to another agency because it's not the correct jurisdiction. But I do think it really is also reflective of when our licensees participate in the complaint process and respond when we share with them that a complaint has been filed. And they give us their side of the story, we can often resolve those complaints at that complaint level, and it never becomes an investigation. So I just thought I would share, because it was a question that came up in that Oregon Realtors presentation, that so many complaints don't become investigations. And of those that become investigations, so many don't result in action being taken against a licensee. And it's just a testament to the integrity of the profession right now. That's it from me.
It's really insightful, Ellie. Thank you for the additional context and information. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any questions before we let Ellie go? Thank you so much, Ellie. Appreciate it. Liz, can you join us? Liz Hayes is our compliance division manager. She's got a lot on her docket today.
Chair Warren. Oh, go ahead, Anna.
No, go for it.
Okay, yeah, I do have a lot, so let's jump in. Chair Warren, members of the board, good morning. For the record, my name is Liz Hayes, and I serve as the Compliance Division Manager at the Oregon Real Estate Agency. The November 19th Property Management and Reconciliations course was successfully completed, and we had a great showing. I love the engagement and questions we received from the attendees, and we continue to receive positive feedback on the course. Our next session is scheduled for January 21st. Some important updates concerning changes to our education requirements. Starting January 1st, the advanced practices for first-time renewals will now only be 26 hours. That's a change from the 27-hour advanced practice for first-time renewers. The agency will continue to accept the 27-hour course for first-time renewers. Also, beginning January 1st, all active renewals must include the 2-hour fair housing course, along with the 2-hour law and rule required course. That was originally a 3-hour kind of combination. Now they are separated into 2 separate 2-hour courses. The fair housing course is now available from several of our providers. And for January renewers only, the agency will accept either the 3 or 2-hour law and rule required course. We've received 1 timeshare pre-licensing course from A1 Superior Schools. The course is currently being reviewed and hopefully we'll have approval in the next couple days. That course should be available by January 1st. Beginning July 1st of 2026, there will be a new proficiency assessment required for all advanced practices courses. The agency will be bringing a work group of educator stakeholders together in early 2026 to work on developing the new assessment requirements. I'm going to pause here before I wrap things up and see if there's any questions about the change in our education requirements. Nothing?
Doesn't look like it.
All right, I know that there was a lot to update. Okay. And in closing, I am excited to announce that the agency is preparing to launch its newly developed escrow audit examination program in early next year. This initiative reflects the agency's ongoing commitment to strengthen oversight and support the responsible management of escrow trust funds. As part of the Compliant Division's mission, this program is designed to help ensure that escrow licensees meet their fiduciary and administrative responsibilities by proactively reviewing escrow trust accounts and those related records. The program aims to identify potential risk, identify potential issues early and provide clarification around any statutory and rule-based requirements. I really want to thank Roger McComas for his extensive work over this last year in developing and shaping this new program. Additional information will be shared in an upcoming ORJ. That is the update from the Compliance Division. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you so much, Liz.
Okay,
Appreciate
great,
that. Lots of exciting stuff. Michael Hannafin will bring you on, Land Development Division Manager. Michael.
Well, good morning, Chair Warren and members of the board. For the record, Michael Hannafin, Land Development Division Manager. The division has had 198 filings through end of October of this year, which is statistically average from looking at a time frame of 2010 through 2024. In terms of rulemaking, which we've been working on for some time after the last session, we've wrapped up rulemaking regarding managing principal brokers, which I think you're all following. And we've also started a new rulemaking, which we've almost completed, related to the timeshare sales agent license type. We held a hearing on November 24th, and unlike our last hearing and rulemaking process, we've had no testimony and no comment. So there's a copy of that notice attached to this report. If you guys have any questions or concerns, let us know. Based on the current lack of feedback, we're looking to file the final order later this week, and these rules, like the managing principal broker rules, will be effective January 1st. That's about it from me. I will say that at the February meeting, we're going to do a wrap-up of 2025 condominium filing activities. So we'll have a look at where those condos are, the total number of units, and the average number of units per project, which is, I think, most of you are somewhat interested in, and it's kind of informative. So with that, do you have any questions for me?
Thanks, Michael. Nina, why don't we have you come on? Nina is our Licensing Division Manager. Go ahead, Nina.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Chair Warren. Members of the board, for the record, I am Nina Darville, the Licensing Manager of the Oregon Real Estate Agency. The Licensing Division acts as the first point of contact for the public and our licensees. We are also responsible for all licensing-related services, general public inquiry, and complaint intake and processing. For the month of October, the division processed 59 new incoming complaints. The average days processing a complaint was 11 days. This time frame starts with the receipt of the initial complaint by the agency and ends when a determination is made to either send the complaint for investigation, issue an educational letter of advice, or to close it. The licensing staff answered 1,353 phone calls with a hold time of 20 seconds. Additionally, between May 1st of 2025 to October 31st of 2025, the licensing division played a key role in maintaining the customer service overall key performance measurement, which currently stands at a score of 96%. A couple of reminders. The continuing education providers are currently in their renewal period, and the deadline to complete the renewal is December 31st of 2025. Also, starting January 1st of 2026, the new timeshare sales agent license applications will be available online. Application fee is $300. Additionally, the timeshare sales agent license examination will be offered through the testing provider PSI starting January 2nd of 2026. That concludes the licensing division update. If you have any questions for me, I'm open. If not, I'll give it back to Anna.
Thanks, Nina.
Thanks.
Bring Reba on. Hi, Reba. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Warren and members of the board. My name is Reba Dunnington, and I am the Administrative and HR Manager for the agency. The Administrative Services Division, it serves as the foundation of the agency's operations by providing comprehensive support in accounting, purchasing and contracting, inventory control, facilities, human resources, special projects, IT, and performance management. So following the move to our new office, we actually set a goal to communicate a new building evacuation and emergency plan by the end of November. We completed these plans and communicated them at our recent all-staff in-person meeting in November. And we followed that up by an evacuation drill and to put the plans into action. So we completed that. So that was fun. Moving on to the e-license replacement project, my division staff, Russ Putinsev, he continues to focus on the majority of his time on providing support for the e-license replacement project. And he does this through coordination, configuration feedback, and user acceptance testing. As our program analyst, Russ is expected to support this major project through its completion. So majority of his time is spent there. For an accounting update, our accountant, Katie Cariel, and myself are engaged in an ongoing internal accounting policies review process to ensure compliance with the Oregon Accounting Manual. This project is anticipated to be completed at the end of the fiscal year of 26. So June 30th, 26 is when our goal is to be completed with that. A quick budget update. There's also a report attached in the board packet, but as of October 25th, projected revenue for the 25-27 biennium is $10.4 million. Our expenses are actually $13.9 million, but this is 12.6% under the limitation granted by the legislative budget of $15.9 million. $2 million of that is reserved for the e-license replacement project, and we are anticipating ending the biennium with $2.5 million, and that represents about 4 months of operating expenses. And just another plug, thank you guys. Thank you for everyone who was able to complete the required trainings from the board between our last meeting and this meeting. Just a reminder, the IT training and the harassment training are due by December 31st. And if you have any questions how to log in, or if you have any issues, please just reach out to me directly and I will help you. And that's what I have.
Okay. Thanks so much, Reba. To close us out, I've got Michelle Tracy, Communications Director, to give us an update on agency communications with so much activity going on.
There is a lot. Good morning, Chair Warren and members of the board. For the record, my name is Michelle Tracy, the Communications Policy and DEI Director, and I'll briefly update you on the agency's recent activities in all the areas. So on the DEI front, I attended the state's Data Equity Summit in November, which provided insights into how data equity work can better serve Oregonians. We are also inventorying all of our PDF documents on our website as part of our work to meet the April 2026 Federal ADA Digital Accessibility deadline. The goal for this is to ensure that the documents are accessible to people using assistive technology. So that's the reason for that. In the communications area, we are actively implementing our outreach plan for both House Bills 2373 and 3137. This includes contacting pre-license and continuing education providers about the law changes and updating our website and license renewal reminders accordingly, just to make sure that everything's aligned with those laws. The December issue of the Oregon Real Estate News Journal will also feature all these changes as well. As was discussed earlier, the finalized versions of both the new Teams disclosure form and the updated initial agency disclosure pamphlet will be available on our website before year end. On the technology side of things, our website migration to SharePoint SE has been delayed. User testing is supposed to start today, but I haven't seen any instructions. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that they get those sent out so that we can proceed with our user acceptance testing through, which is supposed to be due next week. So hopefully that'll go through. Again, no service disruption to our website for our website users will happen. It's supposed to be very seamless. And finally, we are in the midst of developing our AI policy that aligns with the state guidelines and this will provide agency staff with clear directions on the appropriate use of AI tools. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. All right. Thank you.
Michelle. And before I hand it over back to you, Chair Warren, I did add that additional budget supplement in there. I think it was from Dawn, who asked us to add some more information in the next budget packet, just some background about the budget. So I included that. Are there any questions that you all have about that information? I can touch more on it next meeting as well. I know you just got it and it's a lot of information. But I'm happy to answer any questions or, overcome any confusion that's in that document. I'd say the big takeaways in it is the sort of the drivers of our revenue and how that revenue is made up. Revenue is really based on the market and ability and ability to stay in and renew your license and interest in entering the market. So 69% of the revenue comes from renewal fees. 17% comes from new applications. We've got some other miscellaneous revenue that comes in, but it really is tied to activity in the market and interest in the market. And so we are seeing a downturn. I think licensing peak is down 6.5% from where we were in 2022. When Michael asked at the Coast, hey, do you think your numbers are going to go down much? And I'm like, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Well, we're here, 6.5%. And then the numbers I put in compared to what Reba talked about are a little bit different. We have some pass-through expenses and revenue that are just license examination fees. So you'll see there's a discrepancy between, I think she marks 10.3 million in revenue and I say 9.5 because it's really pass-through money. And I tried to give you numbers that are just like real tangible numbers that we're actually going to be getting and keeping in our reserves. We're monitoring that. We do think that, we're looking at these lapse rates. We're watching them tick up. We think we're in a great position through the remainder of the biennium. We expect to have 2.5 million in cash reserve at the end of the biennium, which is a healthy ending balance, but very likely given increases in costs that we have, that we'll need to look at getting a fee increase in the next legislative session in 27-29. We don't know what that number is. I put a number in there and because I wanted to give you something, and it's a dartboard number at this point. It's really just as of today, what would the inflationary adjustment of our current licensing fee be from when we got it 10 years ago, or I guess at this point, 8 years ago in 2017, which is at 396. I put some numbers about expenses in there as well. I think the big takeaway on expenses is that 80% are people. we knew that was sort of the heft when it comes to our expenses. The remaining 20%, most of that is already spoken for. It's statewide assessments, our DAS risk charges. We were fortunate and able to make that cut to rent was one of the few areas where we can make adjustments. We're locked into that lease for 5 years. The remaining amount of expenses that we have to sort of play with and make decisions around is about 1% of the overall budget. So it's training, it's travel, it's office expenses, and we are even being lean there. Steve's stopped doing his travel to conferences when they're out of state. We are maintaining our plans for training at this point, but we'll make prudent cuts where we need to. What else?
I think that covers well.
Is that everything that's in there? Numbers are going, yeah, big takeaway. Licensing numbers drive our revenue. Licensing numbers are going down. We're seeing that. We don't know where the bottom is. I think I have a line in there about, 2008. It's like, I don't know that we can really compare ourselves to 2008. It doesn't feel like 2008. But on that timeline, our numbers peaked in 2006. And then I think they bottomed in like 2012 or 13. So on that timeline, we're looking at, maybe bottoming in 27, 29, if we use that. But we know it's just, there's so many external factors that impact the market. It's really hard to say if that's going to be on the same timeline. The rate of decline is certainly not the same of what we saw in 2008. At 6.5% fewer licensees for 3-4 years from the peak. We're not, losing licensees at the same rate. But when we look at licensing numbers, we can definitely see there was a rush, right? That pandemic boom happened and we got kind of licensees coming in and speculating. And we can see that some of those on their first or second renewal are probably the ones that are attriting out. They're not staying with the license. So we've been proactive with our cost savings. Like I said, we've taken a couple of measures and we're at this point just kind of in the wait and see phase of the budget. But overall, not total doom and gloom. We have a very healthy cash reserve. I think we're in a good spot through the remainder of the biennium and to be able to maintain the programs and services that we have.
I had a question for the board too, because I really appreciate the report that she put together. One thing that she and I were talking about is we know that we're coming up on that first or second renewal, like she was mentioning of like the peak licensees. We've had more questions from licensees about going to a referral only status. So they might still keep their license to do referrals, but maybe not keep a realtor membership or maybe not keep an MLS membership. Is that something you're all experiencing in your own offices as well? Because we're kind of curious, like maybe they'll just stay in the background until the economy changes or what have you, and then they'll come back in the business or, just tinker or whatever. But any feedback for us on that to guide our decision making?
I work, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I work with a few agents in our company that are referral only.
Okay.
Now, are they going to come back? I don't know, and they don't know either, and so forth. But it's just a few that I know of. But I know people do it.
Okay. Anybody else? I noticed actually somebody in the chat box, a guest chimed in that they actually had that experience at their office. So thank you for whoever that was.
Latasha, were you going to?
Yes. I was going to chime in and Tom has his hand up, but just to echo Deborah, a lot of agents are kind of doing the whole, like, how can I be inactive too is also a thing. And so there's a lot of, I've been starting to get emails from brokerages saying, hey, you can go inactive and hang your license here kind of a thing. And I haven't really seen that before, but I'm seeing more of it in my inbox. Like we now have a, referral only brokerage where you can go inactive and you can still, obviously make income. So I definitely, I'm definitely being recruited to go inactive, and I hadn't seen that before. So I think that's definitely a page people are taking to go, well, maybe I don't lose my license completely. I go inactive, I go referral only, and maybe wait till the market picks up or something. So I definitely think we can expect to see more of that as agents are struggling to make ends meet and finding
And
other ways
maybe
to make
that's
it.
why we don't see the big precipitous drop like we saw in the recession. It's a little more gradual because they might think, why give this all up and start over if it's a temporary downturn? Well, I'm glad I asked the question. Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It may be a little bit different. I'm sure it is actually in the commercial world. When it pertains to referrals, most of the referrals that we get are not necessarily agents that are looking for their exit out of the industry. From the our world, my world, most of the referrals that I'm seeing are residential agents that are really giving a client, if you will, or a deal to us, to say, I'm practicing outside of my area of expertise. Can I give this deal to you? And that's where we see most of it, as far as that goes. On one other thing I wanted to mention too, and I don't know if if the agency has a feel for this or not, but I know in our world, especially specifically in Central Oregon, we kind of know who the large deal makers are in the commercial world. And I could say that, out of the, oh gosh, whatever it is, 200 people that are doing commercial deals, there's really only about maybe 35 or 40 that are handling 90% of the deals that exist, at least in the Tri-County area. So there is a baseline of people that are handing back their licenses here, and there's very, very few. Again, it may be different in the residential world where there's just people kind of coming in, whether it's seasonally or the economy is pushing that. But I just want to make those comments. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that and including the person who chimed in on the text box. It's really helpful. The other thing I wanted to follow up on this report that Anna prepared is I appreciate when you have suggestions on other things you want us to bring to the meetings, because I know that it's pretty formally structured, right? Like we have the waivers and the petitions and the board, the agency division reports. If there's other things we can bring to the meeting of value like this, just please keep asking. I like it when if this helps guide your business, but also helps us understand the trends out there. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and I did not look at inactivation rates, right? What's the movement within the license statuses? I'm going to look at that and see if there's any are people keeping the license but moving down to inactive status? I'm not sure. I'll take a look. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, well then if there's no other questions, Chair Warren, back to you. That concludes presentations from the agency.
Okay. Well, with that, our next board meeting will be February 2nd, 2026 at 10 a.m. and it'll be online. And so this says pending board approval, but we already approved it. So that's official. You can mark it on your calendar. So with that, if the agency doesn't have anything else, I will call the meeting adjourned.